Hello and welcome back to Banished, everyone. We will be working on expanding the southern town as much as possible because really we need to get this town to be rather independent just so that it can survive going forward. Right now our food crisis is over. Our population has returned to a fairly normal level. And yeah, I worked on clearing out the rest of the forest land to the left here, and this is something that we need to build upon. I want to add our final wheat kind of farm up in this corner here, and that's going to give us room for a couple animal areas here, just so we can break up the monotony of having a whole bunch of wheat. Once we have our 3 large wheat producing fields established, we will move on to some different crops to keep the variety going. And in the long term, really pretty much everywhere up here is going to be farms, and we might even get some more on the right side. And of course we'll mix in some animal things as we go. So let's go ahead and lay out the farmstead. I do love these farm homes. They're just very nice and quaint. I think this is one that we haven't used yet, so this is what we will use up here. And luckily there's a random stockpile that I can use to kind of just bump my building against for now. And we can turn it on normal speed just to make sure some simulation is running back there. And we can also add a small town abode. I do like these buildings, especially once we can get these upgraded. Or actually, let's do a storage first. So I'm thinking a large storage piece would be pretty nice, and I'm going to put it about yay. Now, does this row go all the way through? No, it does not. So we'll put it right there, and I'm going to bump up our first field right against the back side of it. So let's, I gotta delete that real quick. Let's see where the field kind of starts. It's going to start right here. We're going to go over 9 and then go up 13 because this is our established field size. We're going to leave let's split this one up. So we over 5 and then we'll go down 13. And then 9 this way. Just so we can have a little bit of a road going to this house itself. I think that would be pretty cool. And then 9, 13. So a little bit of a different design and layout. You know, we've been kind of combining all the fields at once, and we're changing it up for this last wheat field off. It's pretty far away from everything if you think about it. In fact, that's kind of leading to some inefficiencies with our farming, but we'll fix that as we go. You know, we'll try and get some supplies kind of centralized to these fields. Probably something around here, and then we can do another one up to the north, just so they can get, you know, tools, equipment they need, so they don't have to worry about that kind of stuff. I'm also fencing this little abode off, just so we have some extra space and detail going along out here, which I want to go ahead and place. A little odd. We can't really put anything quite there. Like I used this piece. Ah, so that's how it's supposed to be used. Okay, so we'll do that. And then we'll get our wonderful little corner here. And then just go straight down till the end. This is just going to need a 2. You know, figure out the smoothness between the colonial wall and this wooden fence as soon as that's all constructed. We have 48 laborers. We got 10 builders pretty much permanently. I'm going to actually bump the builders up to 15 because we kind of need them. We're out of stone, which is a bit of a problem. And I hope to kind of fix that soon-ish. Let's also kind of get the dirt road coming down from there. And we can go ahead and curve this section over to the rest of the main kind of dirt path leading through the farmland area. We also need to build some of those colonial fence posts. Let's go ahead and move the speed to ×2 just so things kind of progress even quicker. Now, we will be just spending the beginning part of this episode very much like before. We're going to go through real time, and does this cost the same even though it's 3 wide? It does, but it doesn't have a hitbox on all of it, so that's probably why. So 3, 1, 2, 3, just like that, and then we can get the corner. So yeah, I kind of am sticking to the motif of these singular kind of colonial wall pieces. Need a 3-way junction there, we need a corner junction here, and then we can go that way with it and this way to surround our farmland as much as possible. 1, 2. I think this one I can get rid of right there, and I can make a bush grow out of thin air apparently. I didn't know I had that magical trait, but learn something new every day. Didn't know I was playing black and white. And another 3-way junction. Let's get the corner junction placed as well. Same down here. That way I know kind of when to stop. Doing this detailing out is, you know, not completely necessary, really. But it's something that I really enjoy doing, and hopefully I can take to other games. Once I get a new PC, I will be going to City Skylines and trying my hand there, because that is a game where you can get insanely detailed and just do pretty amazing things in that. I watch a lot of YouTube videos on some series there, and I really enjoy what they can do. I am just terrible at the game, so it'll take me some time to get used to it. Oh yeah, just circle this field all the way in. And the reason I am spreading these out isn't necessarily because it's efficient or it's the best way to do it. It is because I am focusing a little bit more on the looks of things rather than the function of a lot of this. So it's not going to be 100% efficient. It's not going to be the best way to go about doing these things. But what it is going to be is a cool looking way to go about doing this. This is also why we have these different towns trading with each other, from this town to the south, which will end up being our main food production for a lot of the region as soon as we can get there. It's late spring now, and our wheat is coming in for the year. Things are looking okay. I've been having a hard time getting these guys to harvest their wheat at the end of the year, though. So we'll see. Usually they don't produce much. One year, though, these things should be producing about 800 wheat a year, give or take a little bit, depending on like the situation of a given year. But it's coming up pretty short. I think only one of these fields a year provide its full yield. And then a lot of the time my farmers, I think, are just confused or going off somewhere else to get food. So that's why we want to, you know, put some sort of small trade area just down here so they don't have to walk as far. And there is only one worker per field. I could increase this. However, if I increase it, that requires more homes out here. And I want it to be kind of sparse farmland that will slowly be mixed into forestry areas. So, you know, lighter the better, I think, going forward. Now, since we are producing wheat, I did turn on the windmill. So that is running. We also have a bakery running, and they produce about 400 food for us right now. Only one baker working here. I think you can get up to 2. So potentially 600 a year. And really, that's pretty close to a fishing dock. I mean, fishing dock does about 800, 900 a year. So for half the people, almost the same amount of food. Bread, great way to get that food income up there. Our food is dropping, but that's kind of to be expected right now. All right, let's get now the town abode. The cool thing about it is that it can look a little barn-like. So I'm using it a bit like that. It just happens to have the benefit of people actually living in it. Not a tiny shack. Let's just do a wooden house. I think just right out here. What variant? I think this one matches because it kind of the porch goes along with the road as best as possible. And you want your farmers living as close as possible to the fields as well. We do have some additional food things out here that aren't enabled. This is stuff we'll turn on the more we will need it. So we have a hunting cabin out here. We also have a medieval pond. I don't quite know how well they will perform for us, but it's something I'll probably turn on by the end of this episode, just so the influx of people, because we'll be building some homes, and that's going to create a lot more children. You know, we're going to need some more food supply beyond just the fields themselves. So there is the fenced-in area and the village barn for their little farmstead. Now, I will also think about adding our first animal pen here. And wow, there's some different kinds. So you can have a small, like, family attached area, which is pretty neat. You can even attach these on the road here in the middle, which is something I didn't consider and I didn't even know about, which is would be pretty interesting to do if you think about it. I don't quite know how efficient those ones are, so we'll have to think about just standard pastures for now. And I think right here at this corner can be one. So I wouldn't mind keeping the 9x13 kind of motif and look of things. However, just to keep this in line with the current farmstead, we'll do 8x12. It's not going to be a major difference. However, it will probably produce and hold less animals. We'll go ahead and place that down there. And we can also... Now, the cool thing about those small pastures is just you can kind of work your own look into them. So there's a 9x13 pasture. And we'll put barns, some additional fencing, and another food item that I do want is a stable. So let's take a look and see if we can't find it just real quick. I know I have seen it before. I'm just trying to figure out where it was. What is this? This is the... Oh, it's that really fancy tavern. Okay. That's not what I need. Is it in this type of production? I feel like it was in a slightly odd place. Clothes store, tailoring. Now, where did we see this before? Resource. Ah, there we go. There's this stable. It will provide feed to generate a domestic animal resource. So we can have some stables out here. And I think the stables could kind of... Nope, it doesn't fit there. Kind of a shame. We'll go ahead and put it, I think, right here. And we could possibly just kind of attach this into its own small pasture. But that's pretty small for horses if you think about it. So we might kind of just throw it on the backside back here as an attachment to this pasture. And then we'll have another farmstead in this corner. I'm not really establishing what all kind of owns each pasture right now, but we can do that as time goes on. So we're already at about 15 minutes on this episode. So I'm going to just keep building, let time progress. I can't really speed up time and record. It kind of affects the FPS too much there. So we'll just go ahead and skip while we make some progress, and also finish building some things real time for you guys, just so we can hang out a little bit more. Alright, so it's been about 5-ish years in game since we last spoke about our plans, and I went ahead continuing that format to the left. So we have our new wheat field up here, and it is doing quite well. I'm having a little bit of a problem fully harvesting all my crops before the end of the year happens. Something that I want to maybe ask you guys if you have any of the same issues. Like, for example, this field, actually give me a good example here. Usually they get to 99% and then they sit there all through autumn, not harvesting, just kind of spinning their wheels, and winter comes, wipes out half the crops, and then they harvest half of it. But there are some fields that do harvest quite well, and let me go find one. I think one of these should be getting about 800 a season. That's what they should be getting. 645. This crop field did decent, you know, last season. This one, nothing. This one as well, 308. So maybe the AI is just a little confused as to what to do. I'm hoping our vendor here is going to make it so they don't have to travel very far to get like food, tools, items, so they don't waste as much time leaving the area on Farmstead. But we'll see how well that goes throughout the series. Now, I want to also go through and break up some of these areas, and I'm going to be doing that with some tree placement to kind of divide up these farmlands from other zones and other kind of lands that are owned by other families. So that's what we're going to be doing for a little bit here on camera. And to do that simply, I just use ghost trees. Generally the most default of ghost trees, because as much as I like the more specific trees of the mods themselves, I find that they don't align to the grid of these fences very well, which is a little concerning when you're doing things like this. So do keep an eye out on that if you guys have the same plans. You'll see that a lot of farmsteads will use rocks, trees, and things like that to kind of mark out the edge of their property line, so they don't have to necessarily build a fence, and they just have a natural border here. And I think that can look good, and we'll, from far away, we'll hopefully kind of just break up a lot of these surfaces. Now, other than that, our general plan is to just kind of continue on with what we've been doing. A lot of farms kind of in the area. We want a lot of, you know, pastures, which we've started to do. We're also moving on from wheat fields, because that's kind of what we've been focusing on so much the past few episodes. Luckily, our new fields to the left here, we have a few lettuce ones, we have some potato crops, and we have some carrots. So we are getting some good variety going forward, which is hopefully going to help. Our population has exploded, by the way, to a staggering over 400 people. And we need this stuff to produce so that we can keep expanding without any major population decrease. I'm a little worried about that in the long run. So that is a factor to watch out for. Ooh, this tree seems to line up fairly well with the base grid, which is nice. And I was trying to figure out what would we could really put in this corner here to kind of hide the fact that the mountainside is encroaching on our land a little bit, and it seems like trees. It's very similar to Planet Coaster in that sense. If you have an ugly area, just plant some trees there. and that'll go ahead and fix that. Let's bump up to about 30 builders, just so these things get laid down a lot quicker. So that'll cover that farmstead itself, and then here we'll go ahead and do a little bit of this one. We don't want to do too much just because we don't quite know how this is going to expand out just yet. So we will just kind of leave it nice and sparse. If I can click on other things, that would be nice. But definitely want to get up in there, around, and in between these kind of pastures. And in between some of these farm buildings. Like so. And that is a trick to just kind of break up the area as a whole. I didn't want to have everything completely densed in there and 100% efficient, though I think I made it a lot more dense than I had in my mind initially, so that's why we're kind of going back in with this extra little bit of detail, but we'll see how well it also affects the FPS. I'm a little worried that using a lot of these trees are going to hurt it, but I mean, considering half the map is trees like that, I'm not too concerned with it. But let's go ahead up here to the first town real quick. I want to zoom in onto our town hall, take a look at our overview, and we'll leave the episode here. So we are year 85. It is early autumn. We have 142 homes, 189 families, 458 total citizens, 328 adults, 60 students, 70 children. Half of them are clothed. That's something I should probably be working on. 88% educated, which is a great number. I prefer 95% because, you know, you can't always get 100% on there. That's quite the effort and doesn't really happen until late game, for me at least, because I'm constantly expanding, needing laborers to do things. Production-wise, we are consuming about 500 more food than we are producing a year. So that's something to watch out for. That's kind of an early sign that your food is slipping. So we need to address that here probably next episode, or hope the farms kind of pick up the slack this season. Anyways, I think that's it for me this episode. If you guys are enjoying Banished, feel free to leave a comment down below. I might even start taking names for towns and villages going forward, just because I think that would be an interesting aspect for you guys to contribute to the series, and not too hard for me to remember these, hopefully. I'm terrible at remembering names, so I can accept a name, but whether or not I'll remember it is a whole nother story. If you guys want to see more creative goodness, go ahead and check out the other videos on my channel. Subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you all next time.